hey guys, it's Jonathan. Welcome to another edition. And today I'm talking about Blip on the Radar. So here's the deal. As a follow-up to my video yesterday, my audio yesterday, the idea of like, are we wasting time pursuing our sport, especially at a time like this? I want to just remind you of a fact that the time you spend in your sport physically, in the grand scheme of your life, is really what I call a blip on the radar. It's very small, right? It's very negligible. When you're in it, when you're young, you can feel this pressure, like trying to maybe get on with the rest of your life, right? Focus on your sport, focus on school, get a job, whatever those things may be. But I can tell you now, what's happened for the parents out there who are kind of my age demographic, right? What's going to happen if you're thinking too much about your athletic experience? What happens is you think that, oh, I spent all this time and then I had to get a job and now I'm going to retire at 65 and then I'm going to die at 72. Those averages, if those are what you're going by, are all blown out of the water right now. If you follow what's going on in Silicon Valley and the tech companies like globally that are creating like the ridiculous amount of technology and medicine that's going to basically lengthen our life. The concept now, the general consensus is that wherever you are in your life, if you're going to live another 10, 20 years, naturally, you may have the potential to live like indefinitely with some of the things, the improvements that are coming on. So when you think about that, when you think about like the idea that, the athletes that we're all talking about today could live to be 100, 110, 120 years old and beyond, that changes this, our philosophy about life in general. The idea is that, you could live for such a long time that you're going to have multiple careers. You're going to have different ups and downs in your life. You're going to have things that you have to prepare for. The old model that you're going to go to high school, go to college, get a degree, maybe start a company, have that for a little while and then retire, that's all done. So when you wipe that away and you apply the world of sport to it, you realize that these first 10, 20, 30 years of someone's life are really a small amount. Right? They're really a small amount. So I want you as an athlete, especially now as we're kind of mid-coronavirus here, it's created a lot of doubt in a lot of athletes. It really has, depending on what sport they're in, winter, summer, it creates a lot of confusion, and that's to be expected. And so we have to learn to overcome that. But if you're thinking that, all right, maybe I should just give up on my goals right now. Maybe I should stop pursuing my sport. Maybe I should just get on with other things. That's all well and good. And this may be a time, I have some athletes that I know who, they were planning on going to the 2020 Olympic Games, and those got postponed till 2021. And physically, they were at the end of their kind of lifespan, so to speak. Their athletic lifespan, not their real lifespan. But they've decided, all right, I'm going to hang it up now. Or another one of the athletes that I know, they're kind of waiting like a month or two. They're going to wait to see when they get to kind of June, July, when the Olympics would have been, to make that decision, see how their body feels. But the idea that, should you rush that decision, I would say no. I've never really had an athlete that I've worked with where I would say that we had to make a fast decision on if they should just give up or not. One athlete had that choice, but it was based on like a school admissions thing. But for the most part, if you're looking at like, oh, should you just get on with life because I need to get on with life, I would say that's probably not the best attitude to have. There's much more life in you than you could possibly imagine. An interesting question to ask yourself, this is a really tough one. So if your parents listen to me, and if you're the athletes listening to me, you're going to come across this in two ways. One of the questions is, when do you think you're going to die? This is a great business question that was asked by a guy named Dan Sullivan, who I follow and just have a lot of respect for. And he asked, like, when are you going to die? When do you think you're going to die? Because if you think you're going to die at 75, then that's one, you're going to get one answer. If you think you're going to die at 120, it's another answer, right? But also the idea is like, well, if you think you're going to die at, let's say, 80, and then the follow-up question that Dan Sullivan asks is like, well, wait a second. If you're gonna die at 80, how do you want your life to be when you're 79? What kind of shape do you want to be in? What kind of business do you want to have? And then what invariably happens is we come up with this big long list of all these great things we want, right? We say like, oh no, I want to be healthy, I want to be happy, I want to be physically active, I want to be playing with my grandkids. And then the third question is like, well, what makes you think you're going to die at 80 then? Right? If that's your quality of life at 79, why are you going to die at 80? Right? And I bring that up because, again, for the athletes in the life and the families that are pursuing an athletic career with someone in their household, these are interesting questions that need to be asked. And in the grand scheme of life, this time spent, this really valuable time spent being an athlete, is a blip on the radar. Okay, and it's going to give you those life skills to continue, right? Because really, here's the deal. We don't want you to just be a successful athlete and then be flipping burgers the rest of your life. No offense to people who flip burgers, but we want you to be, like I say this, I was an Olympian in one thing, now I want to be an Olympian in other things, right? I would have wasted my time in sport if I was only an Olympian in that one thing and then the rest of my life sucked. Right? We don't want that for you. So that's why this time in sport is so well spent, because it's a blip on the radar that's going to give you those lessons for the rest of your life. All right? So don't forget that. Cheers. See you tomorrow.